This is Trey Smith, and a few days from now, I'm going to be in Israel. Shots on the screen behind me. That's actually it's a recreation of the Jesus boat from last year, about the same time that I was in Israel, and amazing trip. That's the Sea of Galilee back there, and that's a wooden boat, an electric boat. It's the only electric boat on the Sea of Galilee. And the man who built that boat, his name is David, standing right there. It's an honor to meet him and to ride on his boat. Hopefully maybe we'll get to do that again. This is a historic year. This is a historic time period for Israel. This is the 70th. 70 is an important biblical number, and particularly for prophecy buffs, and I would certainly be in that crowd. This will be the 70th anniversary of Israel being a nation. That happens on May 14th of 2018. I'm planning to be there from the 11th, which is interesting. I actually landed 11, until the 22nd. We didn't even really pay. Of course, we knew we were booking the stuff, but we didn't pay attention necessarily to the numbers or dates. Last video that God in a Nutshell put up, sort of a controversial, sort of an edgier one. But many people went. We would get thousands, literally thousands of emails from people over time talking about seeing numbers and things like this. Let me state something to you about numbers. Numbers revolve around 70 as a number. The dimensions of the Ark of the Covenant, the dimensions of the temple, the fact that you would be looking forward to in prophecy a third temple. Numbers are relevant to God. In fact, there's an entire book of your Bible that is titled Numbers. It's a difficult book to read. It's titled Numbers. And it's hard to crunch through it because you're looking at a lot of numbers, and math isn't everybody's thing. So in the last variety of videos, what I've actually tried to do is simplify some of the math things, not go with complicated things, but simple things, and also look at the letters. Hebrew is an unusual language. I believe that it's quite possibly the original language of Earth, a language that Adam and Eve may have spoke. That doesn't make me right on that, but it's an interesting speculation, and those letters all have properties that other languages simply don't have. So to go through those simple portions of what those mean was important to me. When you talk about prophecy, not only is Israel your major, all of the end time events, really the focus begins to draw in to Israel. Israel is your marker. Now, there are other events that go on in the world, but she's your major marker. Additionally, prophecy, the passage that people will run to the quickest with prophecy, and as they should, is going to be in Matthew 24. We're starting in verse 3. Jesus is sitting on the Mount of Olives, the Mount of Olives. So this is the same mount where he would ascend from, Mount of Olives. The disciples came to him privately and said, "Tell us, when will these things be? When will these things be? What will be the sign of your coming and the end of the age?" Now, in this book of Enoch, we start with dialogues about the end of the... And by the way, to do the Enoch study does not mean that you have to even agree that Enoch is real, nor is Enoch in any way, let me make that clear, in any way, a necessity to your salvation. But I actually believe that it is an authentic book. I think I can prove that to you. And I think it gives you insights not only into the pre-flood world, but also, as you're going to see in a second, there's foreshadowings of what happened in that pre-flood world and greater understandings of them in Enoch that bring greater focus to those end-time events. And more than that, that's the way the book starts. So I think you'll gain something from it. And no matter what, it's a very competent, extremely competent, and broken down simple study. What will be the sign of your coming and the end of the age? These are the words, the blessing of Enoch. Blessed, wherewith you bless the elect and righteous who will be living in the day of tribulation when the wicked and the godless are to be removed. This book is not for my generation, but for a remote one, which is for it to come. The last generation of the age. Yeah, I think the study is important. The first section of it is up, and I'm making this video now. Let's go on to sentence 4, the Yod He Vav He. We start with Yahashua, Jesus. He answered them and he says this. Now watch, because this entire Matthew 24 is going to be encapsulated with this idea of deception. So the greatest marker, beginning to end, with the meat of the scriptures in between, is deception. Deception, just like you learn, you sit there and you watch your news and you believe almost none of it. None of you do that are watching this, because the term is fake news. It's all you can blatantly see it. You blatantly see it. This man Donald Trump that's in office, they attack and they attack and they attack, and they'll put up poll numbers and say, "But look at our poll numbers." Well, those are the same poll numbers, and people that they're polling, they thought that Hillary was going to win the election. So there's something wrong with their poll numbers, and there's something wrong with their news reports. And everybody, including and especially, because I talk to some of those people, they're not stupid. They understand that the articles that they're writing are less well done than a bad Twitter post. Now, Jesus answered, "Watch out that no one deceives you." You have to watch out for deception. It's also going to go on to talk about false prophets shall arise and deceive many. False messiahs shall arise. There are false messiahs all over the world. Kim Clement was a prophet. How do we know? So this brings up a fundamental question. See that no one deceives you. Let me read on just a little bit further. "For many will come in my name, claiming, I am the Messiah." Many will come. You can find this globally. The name of Jesus is copied for all sorts of wickedness on this earth. All sorts of wickedness. Let me go on a little more. "And will deceive many. You will hear of wars and rumors of wars." And it's also going to go down. I don't have it on this page, but talk about famines and earthquakes in various and diverse places. See, you're going to be living in a time period. This passage is focusing you to a time period where you have CNN and other news channels, because there's no way the whole world could even see the Messiah come if they didn't have TV sets. Probably. It's a speculation, but the verses are all alluding to the age or some portion here on the horizon that you're in. It has to. "You'll hear of wars and rumors of wars, but see to it that you are not alarmed," or troubled in some translations. "These things must happen. They must come to pass." So these are not signs of, well, they are signs leading towards the end. It's going to describe them like birth pains. These are not signs of the end, but these are signs that are leading to, like birth pains, leading towards, boom, your ending. That's what it's saying. But the end is yet to come. The end is still to come. "Nation will rise against nation and kingdom against kingdom." And it's going to go on to talk about peace. That when you see them crying out for peace, that you know that it's getting near. It's not there yet. It's at the door. Just like the seventh church is Laodicea. And I want to talk about that a second, because in 2 Timothy, when you'll hear in my videos, people talk about prosper. I'm including those words deliberately. About prosper. And here's the reason why. Is because, and by the way, prosper is not it's the Lord is the author of prosper. He prospered Abraham. Is he a different God then than he is now? You have a new covenant. It was a rich man that gave Jesus his tomb. That's what the text says. Jesus' friends were tax collectors, prostitutes, and sailors. Those were his friends, the people that he was hanging with. This made the Pharisees, who were out at the temple, and they had their white outfits on, man, because they're all perfect. They're cleaned up. People yell at me on my videos, "You didn't clean up, you didn't shave the way I like, you didn't do, his hair is too long, he moved his hands weird." You know what? You're right. You're absolutely right about all that. Jesus' friends, there's a message in that as well. They were very imperfect people. Your people who are your largest speakers of things, some of my friends, they're imperfect people, but they are trying to listen to the Lord. That brings us back to our statement about false messiahs, false teachers, false this. You on the other side of the screen, you can't take my words, you can't take Kim Clement's words, you can't take anybody else's words. You can't listen. I can't even go listen to my own mama's words. And I will not, when I stand before the Lord, when you stand before the Lord, these passages here, see that no one deceives you. And you can be deceived by the most sincere Pharisees who are all cleaned up. And I'll tell you, some of the people that look the most, look at me, I'm doing all of my stuff. I point the finger at you. I was in that crowd for a minute. Not that there's anything wrong with it. They're probably right when they're pointing the finger about stuff. Probably are true. Didn't do it right. The Lord went to the ones that didn't do it right, but they listened to the Lord. And that's what you're on the other side of the screen. You can't. Kim Clement won't get you into heaven. A book of Enoch will not get you into heaven. And a Bible will not get you into heaven. It has to be a relationship between you and the King. And to have that, I'm a very imperfect guy. I am in the only things that make any sense on any of these videos I do are when I go and listen to the Lord. Otherwise, I screw it up and do stupid things. You have to listen. You have to pray and ask for discernment. It's going to say in this passage, even the elect. Now, that could apply to Israel, but both terms can apply to both groups. You do not want to be deceived. And to not be deceived, you have to ask the Lord. You have to physically speak it with your mouth. Lord, let me, insert your name. Say it now. Lord, let me not be deceived. Lord, let me. The nature of deception is that you don't know you're being deceived. And being prim and proper, those are good things. This is not an endorsement of sin. What it's an endorsement of, the first miracle was water to wine. There were 37 miracles in your Gospels. The first one was water to wine. John Dumas pointed out to me something interesting about that miracle is it's kind of an absurd miracle in many ways. It gets people wondering what's going on here. But that miracle, Mary told the servants, is the answer to all of it. How do you make it into heaven? How do you make it into heaven? How do you stand the Lord's will? Mary answers this question for you. Do whatever Yahshua says. Do whatever he says. Or 6 stone jars. Let's move on to our next passage. Now, Laodicea, that's the 7th church. That's in chapter 3 of the book of Revelation. It's the last one. Each of those churches represents a church. They're not just literal churches, which they were. All of them have been swallowed up by Islam at this point. All those churches. And the gospel, here in Matthew 24, it's going to say the gospel will go to the ends of the earth, and then at that point the earth will come. I ask many people all the time, who's it not been told to? You're close, according to these passages. I don't know what close means. But Laodicea is the last one. And I think Laodicea hyper-intensifies, just like in 2 Timothy. Men will be lovers of themselves. The love of many will grow cold. They'll be prideful, boastful, all these things. I pray the Lord against that. Pray against that. The number one thing God hates is pride. Oh, he doesn't tolerate it. Richie Rich Church, you think you're rich, but you're poor, naked, and blind. I advise you to come, and I'm paraphrasing, I advise you to come buy gold refined from me. That gold is not a physical gold. If you have been blessed enough to prosper in this life, many haven't. First of all, if you prospered, that's wonderful. If you haven't, that's equally as well. You might be in better shape. Having some the camel making it through the eye of a needle. An eye of a needle is a gate. They would make these low gates so that armies could not rush in fast. You would have to take everything off of your camel, and the camel would have to get on its knees and would have to humble itself. The parable of the talents. Jesus gave the parable of the talents. One got 10, one got 5, one got 1. The one that got 1 was jealous and upset because the other guys got something. That's the message of the parable. That Jesus, that God was watching, not what he gave you and put in your hand, but if you were a good steward of what he put in your hand. The number one thing is to ask the Lord, just say, Lord, come into my life. And even in my stupidness, and you may stumble this way and that, God onto me, you put Ken Clement in your videos and said, well, you did. Yeah, I did. I respected and honored him a lot, but he will not save me. He won't save you. And neither will anybody else that's out there. Neither will the best pastors on earth. People get on, they'll yell about Billy Graham. Oh, look at him. He said some nice words about the Catholics. Well, he probably did. You know what? I got family members that are I pray for these people. And you know what? What I have learned is that before I go putting pressure on them, because you're right, they're littered with all sorts of bad stuff. Guess what? So am I. So am I. I ask the Lord, just let me, just you guide my steps, man, because set to my own devices, I will stumble straight off a cliff. And that ain't a joke. And I speak for myself. You guys on the other end are probably perfect. The truth is, you're probably not. As I pray, Lord, protect me from my own idiocy. I pray that a lot. I pray that a lot. Lord, guide these steps. Put favor under my path. Let me not foolishly squander the time you've given me. Set to my own devices, I will do that. Let's look at this passage. Now learn this, the lesson from the fig tree. Laodicea is the health and wealth, Richie Rich one at the end, right? So you should see Richie Rich at the end, hyper-intensiflate. That does not make the prosper bad. It depends on how you use it, buddy. Depends on how you use it. Do you use it for the Lord and His glory, and are you humble, or are you not? And it's easy not to be when you got a few bucks in your wallet. It's easy to be, ooh, that's dangerous ground. It's also dangerous ground to be the Pharisee pointing the finger. And I don't state that to get on it. I'm just stating that lifting people up is better than cutting them down. The fig tree. The fig tree. Pretty much every prophecy person is going to agree, most of them, there's exceptions, but most prophecy people are going to agree the fig tree is Israel, represents Israel. The fig tree, as soon as its twigs get tender and its leaves come out, you know that summer is near. It's stating that when this thing got a little seedlet of Israel, it's in the ground, buried under darkness for a long period of time, but then it begins to come forth, right? You're seeing it sprout. Now it's saying when its leaves come out, you know that the summer is near. Summer is the good time, right? Summer is near. Passage 33. Even so, when you see all these things, you know that the time is near. Right at the door. What is it saying? Laodicea, the seventh church. Seventh church is the only one where people are going to the internet and stuff, as opposed to their church buildings, right? And all the other churches are churches, but in Laodicea, Jesus outside of the church has gotten so ugly, I guess. It's my interpretation. It's the only one of the seven, and stiff warnings are given to it about its pride and its boasting. How I wish you were either hot or cold. Not I want to spit you out of my mouth. I will spew you out of my mouth. Notice he said I will. That's not a good thing. It sounds like rejection to me. You know it's at the door. That's what it says. Though I stand at the door. This is the only one, Laodicea, where Jesus is outside the church. If anyone hears me, I will come to him. Just like you sitting at your computer screen and you're searching for something. And you're listening to a lot of different voices, and take mine with a grain of salt. You go before the Lord, because look who's standing at the door and knocking. Though I stand at the door and knock, if anyone hears me, I will do what? How do you know if you're listening to the Lord? I will come and sup with him in all your imperfections. The Lord will thank God for your imperfections and the attacks. I'll tell you, in my life, I get it. I feel all the time. It's like this, but then I have to go before the Lord, because you feel attacks in your life, on the other side of the screen. In your life, you feel attacks. Attacks are the evidence that it's not the person attacking you. It's a spirit behind them, and some of these are very clever, particularly if they're all dolled up. Look, we're out front of the temple, man. The greater I don't care whether you're sitting there and you're on drugs or it doesn't matter. And you just pray for deliverance, a breaking of all of it. No matter what it is, addictions, all of it. It's whatever there is inside of you, the things that you're scared of, all of it. You go before the Lord and you say, Lord, just take my path. Deliver me from everything that comes up in my life. Because I'll tell you this, what's funny, it was years and years when I was on the streets. Years back, I mean, I literally, and you would run into junkies, different people, and this and that. They all believed in Jesus. One day Jesus is going. And you'd say, I'd ask them, I'd say, do you believe in evolution? None of them believed in it. I would say, well, none of them believed in evolution. I'd say, well, that's strange. I mean, all of the people in the ivory temples of earth, they all believe in evolution. Well, who are you? You're just a junkie on the street, right? That's what they brought the prostitute and threw her before Jesus. In Jericho, of all the people of Jericho, God says, I think I'm going to save Rahab, the prostitute. That's because there, even in Jericho, they had put her down. No, she wasn't obviously perfect. She's a prostitute. But I'm saving, you know what? I'm saving of all the people in Jericho, me as God, I'm saving Rahab, your prostitute. She's coming. She's coming with me. How you like that, Jericho? Though I stand at the door and knock. That's what it says in Laodicea as well. Stand at the door and knock. You're at the end. You're close to the end. Truly I tell you, this generation, now here we go, the generation is tied to the fig tree. So there's where we get to our number 70. Our number 70. And by the way, in the God Dimension video, we talk about that. I want to save that for the God Dimension video. This is what this stuff looks like. And these, yes, they do look great on a coffee table. And I think every one of you that's got sets, and every one of you that gets a set for a friend, you're actually who makes doing these things possible, and the ability to talk to you and do all of these 9 jillion cuts and things. I have people that help me now, but I didn't used to when I got started doing it. And they're good at it. The Lord has put good people in my life. He discerns who goes in my life and who's not in my life. He discerns that. I've been watching that here lately. He will remove things that should not be. Even if against my own stupidity, he'll do it. These are what these sets look like. And they're beautiful. They're gorgeous. They're designed to be that way. And they're all the bad dogs on the block. Many of these were the tipping point of the sphere. Some of these we're going to put on streaming. Some of them we're not. Over on the God in a Nutshell website, it has an area that says partnerships now. I'd like you to come and join, do that. That's where we're going to be going through our book of Enoch. There's already one section up there. And each of these sections takes a little bit of work to do. It's a little bit of a press to do them. I want them done well, solid, competent, coherent, not flaky, not new agey, not none of it. I want you to have the best Enoch study. Not just for you, for the Lord. And we'll get to this in a second. But it's over there. Become a partner with us. If you can't, write to us. I want you to do it anyway. Write up a review or something for us. Truly I tell you, this generation will not pass until these things have happened. A generation, people argue, is it 70 years in the book of Psalms? It'll indicate that you can stretch it to 80 years. A generation, there's different terminologies for a generation. And I think that's by design. That he wants you questioning that, because the verse is going to go on that you just better be ready. And by ready, I'm quoting my friend Brian Hall, Rabbi Brian Hall, when I say ready really means right. And right doesn't mean perfect. Right means you go before the Lord. The Lord sees your end. He doesn't see where you are today. And trust me, you're broken today, even if you think you're not. He doesn't see it here. He sees your completed product when he looks at you. When he looks at you, he sees his son. That's what you're praying for. That's what you're praying for in this place. And you will, I'm quoting Mike Murdoch, who I robbed the safe from. I went and watched some of his videos the other day. Actually, I sat there and I thought that, he's older now. And I thought, wow, this man is, he wrote the song, You Can Make It. Mike, you can quote me on this. You're going to make it. The Lord wants you to, even my book, Evidence of Attack. And you were doing lots of stuff wrong. I was doing worse. I was awful. An awful guy. I thought I was a great guy. I was, you're going to make it, Mike. The Lord says you're going to make it. I believe that. I believe quit robbing people for money. It sounds stupid anymore. Make it to heaven, Mike. So, Mike, one time I smashed a Cadillac right through your front gate, right through your mansion front gate, went in, disarmed all 3 of your electronic doors, and took off with your safe. But you know what? So what, man? You know what? You acted, in my view, you acted like a royal jerk. These things happen. Make it to heaven, man. You're 70. You're in your 70s, man. Grow up. The next passage. But about that day or hour, no one knows. God's emphasizing this point. Yahushua is emphasizing this point. Not even the angels. There are 3 things he's going to list here. Not even the angels, so the angels don't know. Nor the Son. Jesus himself is saying, bare minimum, I'm not telling you. He's saying straight up here, I don't know. Which means that none of us are going to. But only the Father. Now, verse 37, and we have all these 3s and 7s and the Holy Land and all these things. And the new one that went up on the 11:11, which, go watch that 11:11. That's it. This is a subject, we get a lot of messages about that. Worthy topic to discuss, whether it was good or evil, or a mixture of both. Signs, like road signs, what you're reading about here in this passage is about signs. But if the 11:11 is a sign, it's worthy of a topic to bring up and talk about what people think about it, which is what we did. Open a dialogue. Signs mean something is coming on the road ahead. Signs don't mean you're there yet. There's never a sign and then you turn immediately. It's always coming on the road ahead. At some undisclosed point, will come. Verse 37. As it was in the days of Noah. Notice that this is brought up. He's referring you back to the days of Noah, which takes you to Genesis 6. Actually, where the fallen angel stuff starts in this book it's in as it was in the days of Noah. this book here in the first section, the part we're working on right now, is we're going to do a great job of telling you about the fallen angels, the demons, the devils, and the angels of God. Don't focus so much on all of that, because that loves your attention. It wants the darkness, and it's important to know what the darkness looks like. What does it do? And the darkness pretends to be angels of light. How do we tell the difference? You're going to look at that pre-flood world like you would not believe in this thing, the days of Noah. This also brings up questions about how long a generation is. Because with Noah, man's days shall be shortened to 120 years. There's your 12 again, just like there were 12 tribes, just like there were 12 disciples, and there's 12 months on a calendar. These things are all critical. In fact, that Enoch calendar, one of the biggest complaints that Enoch lodges in the section about the calendar, you're going to do the study. Don't bail on it, do it. Enoch says they're going to reckon the days wrong and forget the calendar, man. What did he mean by that? He emphasizes that redundantly. They were going to reckon the days wrong. No man will know the day or the hour. They're going to reckon the days wrong, man. Now we're going to have another try in here in just a second. So it will be in the coming of the Son of Man. For in the days before the flood, now watch what they were doing, because it doesn't talk about Nephilim and John. All of this stuff is here. Now that's going to be there. You got people building robots and robotic worlds and all of this other stuff. I want to put my consciousness in something. We're talking to aliens, man. The aliens showed us how to put our consciousness into a box, man. Then you've got passages that say, men will run from death and not find it. I've always been curious, what does that mean? Chuck Missler was the first one. Chuck Missler died this week. I'm making this video. Special condolences to all of his family. Chuck Missler was the first one that brought to my attention, what does that mean? Men will run from death and not find it. And then they're going to be hiding in caves and bunkers and stuff. Just because you have a cave or a bunker doesn't mean that's a bad thing. I don't know. Some people, it's just a cool thing to have. Being prepared is a good thing. I'll tell you, these people, I've walked into Skywatch and these other places and thought to myself as I walked, the first time I walked, particularly in Indianapolis, one day the Lord is going to use this place. Not just for storage of books and things like that. Some of the best books on the globe come from those people. And those are people with they're not perfect people, they're people with discernment, in my view. But also that property that they have, I would be willing to guess. I saw first time I walked in there, the first thing I thought, and I told Derek this, the Lord is going to use this place where you're hosting a TV show right now one day. People are going to be on cots and bunks. Because when hard days come, there's no books to sell. There are going to be moments the Lord is going to use it now. He's going to use it when He does that. But watch what they're doing for the flood comes. It's not talking about maybe packed in there all the Nephilim, all the weird stuff that you're finding in Genesis 6. Man's days got shortened to 120 years. Is that a generation? I don't know. Is it 70 a generation? I don't know. You're getting close. How long is it? Is it longer than that? It could be. Could be. It depends on where you start, what calendar you use, and what your start date is. Where do you start, what calendar are you using, and what exact amount of time are you counting? And all three of those things are variables that have question marks on them. And every prophecy buff from here to Timbuktu debates the answers to these, some of them almost with fists and stuff. But I can tell you this, that this is what it will look like. They will be eating and drinking. They're having a great time. And marrying and giving in marriage is what they're doing. That's what's on their head. I need to get married. I need to get married. I used to be like this. I'm a single dude as I sit here right now. And why won't the Lord give me somebody? You know what? The Lord has the right person for my life. He does. And I'm praying for that. I'll know that when I see that. And I won't waste somebody else's time and spend their years. I'd like to be part of that group, actually, that marries and gets married. That's not the bad part. Up until the day that Noah entered the ark. Noah's 3 sons got married before the flood. Up until the day that Noah entered the ark. And they knew nothing. The world was oblivious. In fact, in this passage, it could take longer than you think. Matthew 25 states that it could enter a time period where you say, boy, seems like it's taken longer. I guess I'm going to set my lamp down. It doesn't have oil in it. I only got so much. He's going to tarry longer than what she thought, is what he's indicating there. That doesn't necessarily make that true in the sense that we're reading it. Could be tomorrow. But what it tends to indicate is it'll enter a phase where you're like, yeah, no, he's not coming. None of this prophecy stuff was real. Watch it. They entered the ark. They knew nothing about what would happen. Notice he keeps bringing you back to this flood. That God wants you to see that flood. I got a whole video on Noah. Watch it. It's free too on YouTube. People say, "Oh, you always charge for it." No, guys. If you had any idea what it takes to make a Jurassic, these are the best films on the block, man. Many of them are for free. Until it came. That is how it would be, the coming of the Son of Man. That's how Jesus is referred to in this book, in the Enoch study. It's going to be a competent study. This will not be a flaky thing. Of God in a Nutshell stuff you've watched, it's going to be an easy walkthrough. Some of it in relaxed places, some of it in Israel, some of it on streaming to you. We're working on it. I bought a bunch of equipment and stuff. It wasn't. So we could do it. We could do it comfortably, and it'll look good for you. We're going to go through Enoch. Again, not a requirement for your salvation. The 70th is not just important and historic. Also, special thanks to the InfoWars people. And these are not perfect guys. This is a ragtag outfit of guys that will just fight for you. Of course, they're not going to be perfect. They're the sailors. They're the sailors and tax collector crowd. They're not tax collectors, but these are the sailors that are off there. We'll fight for you, just like Peter was. Just like Peter was for Jesus. And then he denied Jesus 3 times. And God still saved him. God still took him. Peter was willing to fight for the king in stupid ways sometimes. But you never forget, look, those that are not against you are for you. And you never forget the ones that fought for you while other people tried to stab you. Those are good friends. Those are good friends. The coming of the Son of Man. Son of Man is how Jesus is talked about. This book paints a picture of Yahushua. Boy, it paints a picture. First, it tells you about that pre-flood world. That's the backdrop of all of it. Make sure you know the King. This is historic. It's the 70th. And I shall be there. And I'll be doing news reporting for you and a battery. It sounds like a battery other people, maybe even InfoWars. While I'm up there, these are all neat people. Donna and Jane and their family, and everybody is going to be there. The focus of the world will shift to Israel and the Middle East. That's my prophecy and prediction. I'm Trey Smith. God bless every last one of you on the other side of the screen.